For people who grew up poor, what normal thing felt like a luxury? 1. People having an own house were rich from my path. 2. People who had their own rooms in the house were even richer. Point 3. Looking for macros and adjusting your food intake sometimes felt like a rich people thing since many good things were really expensive. Point 4. People who didn't have to work while they studied. I worked 30 hours a week as a full-time student to afford my flat. Point 5. If you would have gone to a barber every week, you were above average, not poor at least. 6. Buying normal healthy food. I'm just generally grateful for everything in my life. As I get ready in the morning to take my kid to the bus stop, seeing a fridge full of food, having proper beds, an abundance of clothing choices that are appropriate for the weather season, being in a nice neighborhood and feeling safe surrounded by a community with many friends that look out for each other. I feel very fortunate every day, and I like to remind my son with a smile on my face. From birth to 5th grade had no running water, so from 1981 to 1991, I had no running water. We would use a washpan to get cleaned up from water jugs. We would go to my grandma's and get a bath sometimes, but it was a 2-hour drive round trip. When my mum left my dad, we got running water and lived in town. I loved being able to shower, etc., and have friends over for the first time. Color TV or any TV, Arnold's, soda, ice maker. Not sharing a room. Not being on school lunch program, hotel, sporting events, concerts, movies. I hated being poor and made sure I wasn't under good living and enjoyed it. But I had a good family and parents who started young. Mum had 3 kids in diapers by 19 years old. Always felt her love and support. Honestly, hot water and having electricity. All we ever had was running water, but no electricity in the house, so I took cold showers only. And homework was the first thing I started on. Some was still out, played with friends. Came home, showered in cold water. Sleep, repeat. We were in poverty, but I had friends with addicts as parents, so it could have been worse. College, but now he's more successful than the rest. They always have cheese and salmi with a boatload of like cannabis and other things like that. I loved it, but we couldn't afford it until recently. My family vacation to Branson, Missouri. For context, I live in the STL area and have been pretty much my entire life. At the time, my mum was still legally a single mama, only 26, with a 5-year-old and 1-year-old. Very proud of my mama and all the hard work she has done to provide for us. We were poor when we were kids, but damn, we were happy. For me, it's salad. Growing up, we'd have hot dogs and fries, or spaghetti, or mashed potatoes and chicken fingers. Whatever it was basically a whole lot of starchy filler. It wasn't until I started dating and expanding my friend circle that I realized people regularly eat fresh tomatoes, salad greens, red onion, cucumbers, etc. Going on a vacation, packed sandwiches to eat at a rest stop. My dad lied to the motel about how many of us were staying in the room, and my mum would bring me individual serving-sized boxes of cereals to eat for breakfast. I don't think they make those small boxes of cereal anymore. A roast, we usually had hot dogs and beans, ground beef and noodles, over-roasted, not oven-roasted, the over-roasted chicken, and that awful gelatinous gloop of minute rice rehydrated in Campbell's soup. When I went to a friend's house, they had roasted meat, and it wasn't Christmas, Easter or Thanksgiving. It was just dinner. Soda. We were a Kool-Aid family due to not having a lot of money. I would marvel at my wealthier friends' fridges that were always stocked with 2 liters of soda. Now that I've grown up and soda is within my finances, I choose not to drink it for health reasons. It's kind of amusing to me when I think about it. Having milk and eggs in the house. When I first started dating my boyfriend, I wanted to bake something and was amazed that we just had everything we needed at the house: milk, eggs, butter, etc. I kept going on about it and didn't realize it was unusual until he said that it was making him really sad. LOL. Being able to get things fixed immediately instead of waiting for payday income tax refund. Or getting car maintenance tires replaced at the right time. When I was poor, I would always get the cheapest tires and drive them until they were bald. And I put way too many miles on my car between oil changes. Having a place you didn't mind inviting friends over to. I had a single sleepover as a kid and it was me over at someone else's house. No one really wants to have their parents drive them 40 minutes into the country to stay in a trailer where there may or may not be electricity that week. I grew up poor, but with people that were really poor. So things I had that I thought were luxuries were just normal, or even less than the ha-ha. Having a lunch every day at school. Clean clothes hand-me-down. Clean, and the biggest flex I had was being able to play organized sports. Getting sports shoes. I wore dress shoes that were too big to play, and even those, or Converse for NJB basketball, until one year my coach who owned the shoe store told my parents he'd give them a discount. That year I got basketball shoes and it was so much easier to play in them. Having a stainless steel side-by-side fridge freezer, the water, an ice dispenser has made me feel like a king for the last 5 years. If I ever have a microwave above the stove and a slide-out trash can, then I will know what it is like to monetarily live beyond my wildest dreams. Shirts bought from a store. My mother would make my shirts with her sewing machine. This was even into HS years. Never had a brand name, or even off-brand. And what was really sad, my father was in the military, chief master sergeant, and that's all they could afford. Our life circumstances improved drastically around the time of 8th grade. We moved from a home with rats to a townhouse that felt like a mansion to me. What stunned me most at the time was on demand. Like we can watch a selection of movies whenever we want for free. When I grew up, my mom only sometimes could afford to make cookies. But to save money she only put half a bag of chocolate chips in. When I left home and got a job, I thought it was amazing to use an entire bag and to buy expensive fruit like raspberries. Having a full fridge and pantry felt like a luxury. Then I realized it was a pain in the ass and wasteful as hell. I miss my fridge with 4 items and empty shelves. When I need food, I'll walk to the store. That was a luxury I took for granted. Going out in general to the mall, store, etc. like we never went on any family vacations. I'm in the States, I never left the state I was born in until I was able to drive. I still haven't been on an airplane, though maybe once I graduate college. Went out with a girl that said, "Come over, we're having meat for dinner." I felt bad imposing BC of how excited she was to have meat, but the family was super humble and inviting. I ate sparingly. It was grilled turkey legs. I had a lot of rice. I feel like just going to a drugstore and picking up necessities based on what I want and works well for me. No consideration for coupons, promotional deals, just buying a deodorant full price because it works, and I like it. Fancy as hell. Your hair done by a professional. Phone out braces, getting picked up by car after school. Ordering food at a restaurant without being strategic to save money. Summer vacations. Having a tutor. Peace in our home. The tension is something we could feel as children, and it was fucking awful. Anyone who has kids who don't know that your kid is fully aware of what's going on, you're mistaken. Make a peaceful home if you can. Sitting in a car, usually used public transport, but sometimes my friends' parents would volunteer to take me home to help my parents. I was just blown away by how nice sitting in the back of a car was compared to the bus. Getting to bite a candy bars without breaking a sweat, asking for permission instead of none or one. Living in a house instead of an apartment. Getting the newest technology right when it comes out, not years later. Having living space. Most of my life I existed in apartments that were less than 800 square feet. On rare occasions, I got to visit at or stay in someone else's home or something. And it was like you could breathe, asking for anything that was not on the grocery list. My family used to do a grocery run every 2 weeks with a tight list. Nitrogen monoxide extras. Me and my sister knew we couldn't ask for anything: candy, cereal, nothing. Not the powdered milk. New clothes that were not hand-me-downs or thrift store buys. Central air in the deep south summer instead of window units strategically placed. And any kind of snack junk food. Our well went dry for 10 months. We had to go to a mountain spring and collect water in milk jugs. We would then heat a few big pots in order to take a bath. I was a pretty smelly 9-year-old for that period. We weren't poor, but we had 5 kids. So eating out and air travel were definitely luxuries. We ate out a few times a year and never flew. I didn't fly anywhere until I was 16 and I bought my own ticket. Going to the pool, we never had one, but when someone did, we invited all our friends over and made it a good day. Now as an adult, I see how easy it is to just ask a friend or go to the gym and swim lol. Cheese. When my first child was born, I remember seeing a recipe on TV and thinking who can afford that much cheese in one meal. Now I have 4 different cheeses in the fridge and feel like a king. McDonald's, my sister, and I would beg for McDonald's when we were little. There's only so much hamburger helper and Salisbury steak a 9-year-old can eat before you crave a McDouble and some fries. Indoor plumbing. I grew up in a cabin in Essie, Alaska. The lack of electricity wasn't such a big deal. No TV, so I read a lot, but man, not having to hike out with a roll of TP was top-notch. As a kid, getting to wash my hair with shampoo instead of washing up liquid a full week with the electricity. Toilet window with glass in it instead of a plastic bag. It was grim up north.